Imagine a moment in history when the decisions of a single family changed the fate of entire nations. A sin hidden in the shadows, a curse that resonated through generations, and the promise of a redemption greater than we ever imagined. This is one of the lesser-known but most powerful stories in the Bible, full of lessons about respect, honor, and the consequences of sin. What does this story really mean for us today? And how does it connect with God's eternal plan for humanity? Don't miss this video, because today we unveil a profound and transformative message that will change your view on sin, justice, and grace. Before we embark on this epic journey, I invite you to subscribe to our channel and let us know in the comments your opinion on this enigmatic story. The flood had ravaged the earth, erasing all the evil that had corrupted humanity. But in the midst of desolation, one family stood firm. Noah, along with his wife, his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their respective wives, descended from the ark after the waters receded. The world was silent, clean, like a blank canvas waiting to be painted again. God, in his mercy, made a covenant with Noah. He would never again destroy the earth with a flood. As a sign of this promise, the first rainbow crossed the sky, a reminder of divine faithfulness. Noah and his sons were given a clear mission. I want you to have many children, and that your descendants fill the earth. Thus, humanity would have another chance to start anew, leaving behind the corruption of the past. But life after the flood would not be easy. Noah, seeking to settle in this new land, decided to dedicate himself to agriculture. He worked the land with his own hands, plowing furrows in the fertile soil. In his effort to create a future for his descendants, he planted vineyards, one of the first crops after the flood. As time passed, the vines bore fruit, and Noah, marveling at the abundance of the land, made wine. Unbeknownst to him, he was about to star in an episode that would change his family's history forever. Because, although Noah was a righteous man, he was also human. One night, after drinking from the fruit of his vineyard, the patriarch fell into a deep sleep, intoxicated by the wine he had produced with such effort. Unbeknownst to him, he lay exposed within his tent, unaware that this moment of vulnerability would unleash a chain of events that would impact his descendants for generations. Thus began an unexpected turn in Noah's story. His sons, witnesses to his fall, would have to decide how to react to the image of their father in his most fragile state. And in that decision, the fate of one of their generations would be at stake. Inside his tent, Noah lay unconscious, immersed in a deep sleep caused by the wine. His body, vulnerable and exposed, reflected human fragility, a reminder that even the most righteous men were not exempt from stumbling. But what could have been a simple private mistake became the trigger for an act that would bring serious consequences. It was then that Cam, his son, entered the store and saw his father's nudity. But what exactly did Cam do? Over the centuries, scholars have debated the meaning of this passage, and various theories have emerged regarding the gravity of his act. The simplest and most traditional interpretation is that Cam simply saw his father in a state of vulnerability, and instead of covering him, he mocked him. Then he went to his brothers to ridicule him instead of protecting his dignity. In Hebrew culture, respect for parents was a fundamental principle, and dishonoring a parent, especially a patriarch like Noah, was a grave sin. Some scholars suggest that the phrase "saw the nakedness of his father" could be a euphemism for something more serious. In the Bible, uncovering nakedness is often used to refer to illicit sexual relations. Based on this, some believe that Cam may have committed an act of abuse against his father while he was unconscious. Another theory along these lines suggests that Ham may have castrated Noah. In ancient cultures, castration was sometimes used as an act of extreme humiliation or as a way to take power within a family. If Noah could no longer have children because of this, it could explain why the curse fell upon Canaan. As the eldest grandson, Canaan would represent the line of descent from Ham, ensuring that his lineage would suffer the consequences. Another hypothesis suggests that Ham may have had relations with Noah's wife, his own mother or stepmother. In Leviticus, it is mentioned that uncovering a father's nakedness can mean being with his wife. If this were the case, then Canaan could have been the result of this sinful union, which would explain why it was he who received the curse instead of Ham. In ancient cultures, a leader's drunkenness and nudity could be interpreted as a sign of weakness, and some theologians suggest that Ham might have tried to take advantage of the situation to dishonor his father and take his place as the patriarch of the family. This theory would fit with the biblical pattern in which children try to usurp their parents' authority, as later happened with Absalom and David. However, at first glance, Cam, instead of stepping aside with respect or finding a way to cover him, went out and told his brothers. The tone with which he did it is uncertain, but his attitude reveals a lack of honor and reverence towards his father. Did he make fun of him? Did he take pleasure in seeing him in that state? It's not clear, but his reaction showed disdain and a lack of respect towards the authority figure in his home. When Shem and Japheth heard what had happened, they made a completely opposite decision. Instead of joining Cam's attitude, they took a mantle and, walking backward to avoid seeing their father's nakedness, covered him with respect. With this act, they demonstrated honor and reverence, recognizing that, although Noah had made a mistake, he was still their father and deserved dignity. The morning sun was beginning to illuminate Noah's tent when the patriarch opened his eyes. His mind, still confused, tried to process what had happened the night before. But when his children told him what Cam had done, a deep anger and pain overwhelmed him. Noah understood that his younger son's act was not only a personal disrespect, but also an affront to divine and familial order. Then, with the authority that God had conferred upon him as a patriarch, Noah pronounced a sentence that would resonate through the ages. Cursed be Canaan. A servant of servants shall he be to his brothers. Strangely, Noah did not directly curse Ham, but rather his son, Canaan. This has been the subject of debates and interpretations over time, but what became clear is that this curse would mark the fate of his lineage. Noah did not stop there. Then, he blessed his other two sons. Blessed be Jehovah, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. With these words, he established a prophetic destiny for future generations. Shem and his descendants would be the bearers of the divine blessing, while Japheth would be magnified and find refuge in the line of Shem. But Canaan, a descendant of Ham, would bear the curse of servitude. The fate of Noah's sons was thus sealed. What had begun as a night of carelessness and dishonor turned into a judgment that would define the course of entire nations. How would this affect future nations? Would it be possible to break the weight of the curse? The story of Noah and his sons still had much to reveal. The echoes of the curse pronounced by Noah is soon reflected in the history of his descendants. Canaan, the son of Ham, became the patriarch of a line of peoples who would later confront the descendants of Shem. Among them were the Canaanites, who inhabited the land that would later be promised to the Hebrews, the chosen people of God. On the other hand, the blessing of Shem was manifested in the line that would lead to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the patriarchs of Israel. From his lineage would arise kings, prophets, and, eventually, the Messiah. His spiritual heritage and role in sacred history were consolidated over time. As for Japheth, his blessing led him to multiply and spread across various regions of the world. His lineage grew and expanded, fulfilling the promise of greatness made by Noah. Thus, each of Noah's sons took his path, defining the destiny of the nations that would arise from them. The story of Noah and his sons not only explains the origin of certain peoples, but also serves as a reminder of how actions and decisions can influence entire generations. What began as an act of dishonor in a patriarch's tent became a tale that shaped the course of humanity. The story of the curse of Canaan, stemming from the actions of Noah and his sons, leaves a powerful lesson about respect for God and the consequences of sin. In the story, when Noah gets drunk and his son Ham sees his nakedness, this becomes an act of dishonor. The punishment that Noah pronounces on the descendants of Ham, that is, on Canaan, is severe: to be a servant of servants to his brothers. This curse, although it seems harsh, has a deeper purpose that extends to future generations. Spiritually, the story shows how sin can affect not only the person who commits it, but also their descendants. The lack of respect and honor towards God can open doors to suffering and slavery. But, at the same time, this account also has a prophetic nuance, especially when considering the history of the nations that descend from Canaan. Throughout the Old Testament, the Canaanites represent the peoples who, by rejecting God and living in wickedness, will face divine justice. However, the story does not end solely with the curse. In the same narrative, God offers redemption, albeit indirectly. The redemption of the nations, even the Canaanites, is made possible through the coming of Jesus Christ. In the New Testament, it is revealed that through Christ, all nations have the opportunity to experience divine grace and spiritual restoration. The message is clear. Although sin brings consequences, God's mercy always opens the door to redemption. The blessings of God are greater than the curses that sin can cause. Jesus, the Messiah, came to reconcile all nations with God, bringing a hope of restoration for every human being, regardless of their lineage or nation. This principle of redemption through Christ is the key to understanding how the divine plan extends beyond human limitations and offers a new life to all those who seek restoration and peace with God, regardless of their past or their mistakes. The story does not end with the curse, but with an invitation to embrace the restoration that God offers. The question is, are we willing to receive that grace and live by the principles of honor, respect, and obedience that He has taught us? Redemption is within everyone's reach, and the time to accept it is now. If you liked our video, give it a like, share it, and subscribe to our channel so we can continue learning together about the most impactful biblical stories. God bless you.